Hello everyone and welcome to the Smashi Business Show. Today is Wednesday, April 23, 2025. I'm Abdul Majid Awan.
And I'm Ward Ahmed, and we have a great show for you today. Firstly, we're going to be discussing how U.S. President Donald Trump's Middle East visit dates have finally been confirmed. Secondly, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi concludes Saudi Arabia's visit, and we're going to give you all the highlights. It's day 2 of Dubai AI Week, and there are so many updates that we have. And the UAE bucks the trend in the IMF's latest growth forecast. And Saudi Arabia is finally set to appoint the acting CEO of NEOM to a permanent role.
The biggest news of today was, let's start with that. US President Donald Trump is set to visit the Middle East from May 13th to May 16th. That's a 4-day trip, making stops in Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, UAE, and Qatar. The problem is we don't still know if it's going to be Saudi first, UAE first, or Qatar first. We'll get the details soon enough. But the trip aims to strengthen strategic ties and secure major foreign investments into the US economy.
Now, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed the itinerary, saying the president will hold bilateral meetings with leaders in Riyadh, Abu Dhabi, and Doha. Now, the visit comes amid renewed economic diplomacy, with the U.S. seeking to attract massive Gulf investments tied to future technologies, including artificial intelligence.
And Saudi Arabia has reportedly pledged up to $1 trillion in U.S. investment. Trump wants trillions, not billions, from everyone, while the UAE has signaled plans to invest as much as $1.4 trillion over the next decade, conditional to access to advanced semiconductors, the AI chips that we need to build an AI super powerhouse in the UAE. Both nations are aggressively building out their AI infrastructure, that is UAE and Saudi, under broader national transformation programs.
Now, President Trump had initially planned this as his first foreign trip of his second term. However, the death of Pope Francis earlier this week altered those plans. Now, Trump will now travel to Rome this weekend to attend the late pontiff's funeral, returning to Washington on Saturday before departing for the Gulf on Monday.
And ahead of the Middle East tour, President Trump will host Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store at the White House on Thursday. It will be the 13th visit by a foreign head of state since Trump's return to office in January. And he has not gone anywhere. It was supposed, to be honest, a business trip, a deals trip, it is still the first foreign trip where he will be doing business. So Pope Francis's thing, he has to go there. The whole world will be there. So at the funeral, so
you
I
don't
think
actually
still we can call it the first foreign trip.
Are you trying to say that he's not going out of empathy, but because he has to go?
No, everyone goes. It's a very ceremonial thing that all the world's leaders will be there, especially who have Christianity in their countries as one of the main religions, as like one of the top 3 religions. But usually in these things, every state leader, prime minister, king, crown, prince, everyone gets an invitation. And saying no to an invitation like that is considered cutting ties or undiplomatic. So that's why everyone literally goes. So, but to be honest, still the first foreign trip, which is a business, which is a proper presidential trip, is still Middle East. But yeah, now officially, we can't call it the first foreign trip. He is still going somewhere else.
I think for me, I'm really excited to see what happens when he actually goes to Qatar and the UAE.
Yeah.
Because we've seen him come to Saudi Arabia in 2017 when he first became president. His first foreign visit as president was to Saudi.
Yeah.
And they did sign a deal there. I forgot how much it was worth, actually.
At that point, it was 350 billion.
I remember he had his little poster out where he was like, listen, this, while he was talking to the
Total
crown
deal
prince.
was 350 and 120 out of that was only for weapons and military stuff. So
And I think for me, Majid, what's even more interesting, it's the fact that, we've mentioned this before, just very recently, Hussein Sajwani, the founder and chairman of Damak Group, who Trump just so happens to have a golf course in his real estate landscape. He's in the White House right now. He's having breakfast with Elon Musk and his family. He's in the White House with Donald Trump.
The Oval Office, the President Office.
Me and Majid were discussing how interesting it is that just last year, Hussein Sajwani was estimated to have a net worth of over $5 billion. Now that net worth has tripled to over $10 billion in just a year. So, them meeting right now before his upcoming visit to the UAE, what could this mean? I really
think he
think
will come
something
to
is
the
brewing
UAE.
here.
He
Something
will
is brewing
meet
here.
the president. He will meet the Dubai ruler. He will meet everyone. But I think he will go to his golf course, the one that you told me
Definitely, he
about.
has to give
at
it a
the Mag.
visit.
I think he'll have lunch, breakfast, dinner, something at least with Hussein Sajwani in the UAE after the officials, after all the leaders that he meets. Let's see, it's going to be a very, very interesting tour. The only things that I think would be interesting is to finally see what number Saudi Arabia and Trump agree on. It is said to be 1 trillion because he said, I want 1 trillion, and Saudi, as soon as he became president, the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, when he called, he said, I'll do 600. He said, no, I want 1 trillion. It's a lot of come and go, like, oh, okay, this. The final number will be nice to know. It's very anxiety inducing, like what will happen.
Honestly, it's not, because
with UAE it's great. 1.4 trillion next 10 years.
Yeah.
Like let's see what happens.
Because I remember what happened, Majid, is he went to Davos, Donald Trump, and he said, actually, I want $1 trillion from Saudi Arabia after his call with the Crown Prince.
Yeah.
And at that time, I told you, I thought that was a very selfish request, because Saudi Arabia's public investment fund is nearly worth $1 trillion. I felt that it was unjust. But then now that I've seen that the UAE has invested $1.4 trillion over the phase of the next 10 years in the US, I don't think Saudi Arabia can say no. And if anything, they almost have to top it.
It's just the time frame. UAE was very clear, 10 years, we'll invest 1.4 trillion. With Saudi, Trump wants it in the next 4 years during his presidential term. So that is the only point of concern for Saudi Arabia, I think.
Probably so he can choose how he can distribute that money.
And on the topic of Saudi Arabia, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was formally received in Jeddah by His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, marking the start of a significant 2-day visit to the kingdom. The leaders met at Al Salam Palace, where an official reception was held, followed by a wide-ranging discussion. Prime Minister Modi expressed his pleasure at returning to Saudi Arabia, calling the kingdom a trusted friend and strategic ally. This was in an exclusive interview with Arab News. They published like 3-4 big pages exclusively. The Crown Prince welcomed him warmly as the two reaffirmed the growth strength of their bilateral ties.
With that, during their meeting, both leaders reviewed the entire spectrum of bilateral cooperation and exchanged views on pressing regional and global developments. Now, they emphasized mutual efforts toward peace and stability in the region. Later, Modi and the Crown Prince co-chaired the Saudi-Indian Strategic Partnership Council, where they reviewed the progress made since its formation in 2019. At the end of the session, they signed the council's meeting minutes, underscoring their commitment to advancing collaboration across sectors.
And Indian Prime Minister Modi praised Saudi Arabia's transformation under Vision 2030 and described Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman as a visionary leader who has inspired global admiration. He commended the kingdom's successful bids for Expo 2030 and FIFA World Cup 2034, and also highlighted opportunities for Indian businesses in infrastructure, technology, and energy projects linked to Vision 2030.
Now, economic cooperation was such a major focus, with Prime Minister Modi noting that despite global headwinds, trade between the two nations has grown. Key sectors include energy, agriculture, and green hydrogen. Modi emphasized, the alignment between Saudi Vision 2030 and India's Viksit Bharat 2047 initiative, and welcomed Saudi investment in India's expanding economy.
On energy collaboration, both nations committed to moving beyond the buyer-seller dynamic. Modi stressed the potential for joint ventures in green hydrogen, renewables, and petrochemicals, obviously with Saudi petrochemicals is a must, and confirmed both sides are working on grid interconnectivity under the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor Initiative.
Now, defense ties are also deepening. Modi highlighted increasing joint military exercises, growing trust in counterterrorism and cybersecurity, and India's readiness to support Saudi defense modernization through private sector partnerships and technology transfers.
And finally, Modi acknowledged the 2.7 million strong Indian diaspora in Saudi Arabia as a binding force in the relationship. He thanked the Saudi leadership for their support of the community, particularly during the pandemic, and reiterated India's commitment to strengthening people-to-people ties. This was the whole summary of 2 days of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit. The interesting thing is that when I was reading it, that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman invited him to come. So usually these are like, okay, they're decided by both sides, but this was an invitation to India. So Saudi, what they're trying is they're not only working with US, with Trump coming, they're not working with Europe, they're not only working, they're working with literally all continents on the planet. They want to have relations because they have realized oil is going down. The next best thing that they can do is they can't push the oil price up.
And then there's the rise of, people caring more about climate change, wanting to ditch it for more environmentally friendly habits. But I think what's so insightful about all of this, Majid, is that, in the Gulf region, number one, the UAE is India's first, the largest trading partner.
Yeah.
But the second one, it's Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So what this signals to is there are already deep ties in place, and this visit was basically just like the cherry on top.
Yeah. Just trying to refresh everything for everyone that, we're in a partnership and we're working. Another thing, very interesting thing that is currently happening. Today is day 3 of the Dubai AI week, and yesterday, whatever happened, the press release has come a little bit late, like around 10 or 11 in the night. So we tried to do a summary of the previous day. So second day of Dubai AI Week 2025, which is the inaugural version, this is the first time it's happening, saw a major milestone as His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Crown Prince of Dubai, launched Dubai's first PhD program in artificial intelligence. Announced by the University of Birmingham, Dubai, the program aligns with the UAE's National Strategy for AI 2031 and aims to build specialized talent across fields like healthcare, mobility, and sustainability.
Now, His Highness also met with representatives of the first group of companies to receive the newly launched Dubai AI Seal, a certification initiative recognizing trusted AI firms working with the government. Now, the seal, developed by the Dubai Center for Artificial Intelligence, aims to establish a robust, ethical, and secure ecosystem for AI solutions in line with the Dubai Universal Blueprint for AI.
And His Highness Sheikh Hamdan further unveiled the first Dubai State of AI report and the Emirates' new AI policy for government entities. The report highlights over 100 AI use cases already in action, from predictive planning to intelligent recruitment, while the policy sets a framework for ethical and impactful AI deployment across Dubai's public sector.
Now, in a major infrastructure boost, a new 2 billion dirhams hyperscale data center was announced. Now, the project is being developed by DO in partnership with Microsoft to power future AI and cloud applications. His Highness Sheikh Hamdan hailed it as a step forward in Dubai's ambition to become a global digital hub.
Meanwhile, Dubai Media Academy launched a new initiative to develop Arabic language AI tools for regional media. Very interesting. The program responds to gaps in Arabic AI resources and aims to preserve cultural identity while boosting the global reach of Arab content. Very interesting announcements. The story specifically about they're building a hyperscale data center, but Microsoft is their biggest client. And I'm like, okay, Microsoft investing in G42, Microsoft investing literally everywhere. Microsoft's program of 100,000 UAE employees, which they will train on AI. Microsoft has another program, same like, it's 500,000 Saudi government employees they'll train on AI. Microsoft is literally everywhere.
It is literally everywhere. You're not wrong whatsoever. And it's interesting to see how the incident that they had at their 50th
Yeah.
anniversary, it did not really affect them that much. They're still going strong. They are a really large company.
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
very
think,
difficult to bring these companies
Yeah,
down,
I
whatever
didn't
the
think-
boycott is happening against
Yeah.
them. Basically, the case is, just to be short and clear about it, that there's a AI wing in Microsoft, which a lot of people work at. I forgot the name of the wing. There's an Instagram page which also says Microsoft AI people against something. Remember the video of the lady who shouted at them?
Basically, Moroccan Microsoft engineer Abtahal Abu Saad,
Yeah.
who is also a Harvard graduate, who also had a Fulbright scholarship. She interrupted Microsoft AI CEO, I believe his
Who's
name
also
was,
is
was
Lebanese
it
or
Mohammed Suleiman?
something
No,
like
he
that.
was
Yeah.
Syrian. He was half Syrian.
Yeah, he has
I
Middle
believe.
Eastern ties.
But
I think.
she interrupted it, and she told Microsoft, "You all have blood on your hands."
Yeah.
And the reason why she did this is because I believe it was in February. The Associate Press,
Yeah,
so
AP
AP
reported.
News, came out with an investigation that Microsoft and OpenAI were basically using artificial intelligence to help Israel, basically, what's it called?
Target people in
To basically
Gaza and
find specific targets and to
Yeah.
drop bombs, not only just in Gaza but also in Lebanon. So that's what triggered that. But anyways, it's interesting to see how their collaborations are going in the UAE. But for me, what really popped out to me, Majid, it's the fact that now people can get a PhD in artificial
Yeah,
intelligence.
very interesting.
I think with this one, I remember when I graduated from high school not so long ago, that my batch, Majid, we were actually the first in the school to have the highest percentage of students staying in the UAE to
Nice.
study. Yeah, and that was something that never happened before that. When did I graduate? Yeah, I graduated in 2023. And before that, the highest percentage was always to Canada, to the US, to the
Nice.
UK, to Spain, to Amsterdam. And so what this signals towards is that now for people to have good educations, they can stay here. They can stay in the Gulf region. They don't need to go outside. We don't have an excuse anymore of saying, oh, this program is not available. No, it's
Yeah.
going to be available.
Yeah.
We're seeing that in AI Week. And I think that's so beautiful for the parents who never want their kids to leave, home.
Yeah.
I'm not sure high school students are excited about this though. Everyone just wants to travel and leave home.
Yeah.
But this really is great news because
One of my friend's son is he's an
Yeah.
older friend. He was a workmate in my last job. He's South African, and one of his son is studying AI in. I always forget the name. Of the university. I always call it Hewlett Packard, but it's not that.
Where is it?
It's in Dubai. He's studying in Dubai.
Oh,
AI.
Harriet Watt?
Harriet. See,
Magic, what is that
my
name?
brain always
These are
forgets
not
the
even,
name.
These are not even near whatsoever.
It's still, it
But sorry,
says,
go
it
on.
starts with H. So yeah, Harriet Watt. He's
Yeah.
studying AI there. The course is very expensive. He was very worried about it, but he was very happy that he's studying something which just came into the market and still has potential. Like if he passes out after if he passes the course or the bachelor's that he's doing 3 years, 4 years, whatever he does, as soon as he comes out, there will be jobs because AI is growing so fast. Usually what happens is that you do something and you spend 4 years and sometimes that field dies within those 4 years. So it's better that he's doing something which is futuristic, which has potential for the next 10, 11 years. So one of them was studying AI and the older son, I think, is studying computers or something. So again, both of them are in this field and a lot of parents are now realizing that, yeah, this is the thing where the money is for the next 5, 10 years because this field, AI,
Yeah.
obviously, literally everything is AI.
It's been for a while, by the way, where
yeah.
the money is. I remember when I came to choose my courses, a lot of my uncles encouraged me to become a coder, like
Yeah.
how they are, because they get really high salaries
Yeah.
from it, from working in Oracle, Microsoft.
Yeah.
But like beside the point though, Majid,
The-
with this story, isn't it something so big that now
Yeah.
people don't have to travel outside.
Especially to the US.
Not even that. It's that I feel like for the longest time ever, there's been this stereotype for Arabs that, for us to become esteemed, for us to become
Yeah, you have to go out.
respectable, we have to go outside, we have to go
Yeah.
to the West, we have to learn their language,
Yeah.
we have to learn their ways, learn their education. But now it's all available here.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a huge stepping stone that we don't really deep.
I know, it's nice. The only thing that I believe in all this educational environment is
Yeah.
that they're setting up their branches here, but I still think we still have a long way to go before there's like a whole system where we can churn out all the talent in all the fields. There's still some places. That is why we recently, when His Highness Sheikh Hamdan went to India, a lot of the biggest Indian engineering and medical institutes, they're opening their branches, second branches, third branches, fourth branches here. I remember I was talking to one of the guests for Love in Dubai. She's the head of something here. They're opening a first branch ever for that university from India. So they are part of that initiative which His Highness Sheikh Hamdan signed in India. So I was talking to her and I realized that we have some great things which are happening in India, some great things obviously in US, UK. Everyone has their own flavor. The best thing about Dubai, they bring all those flavors in here. So you don't have to go to Asia for something or West for something. You can literally get everything here.
And it's
So
so
it's
true,
very
by the way.
nice.
I think for me, when people say that Dubai is so diverse, I
Yeah.
don't really recognize it because I live here. It's just the life that I'm used
Yeah.
to. But I remember when I was speaking to Brooke Bellamy, the founder of
yeah,
Brookie, the famous cookie company that basically blew up on TikTok. I was speaking to her and she told, I was like, how's your customer experience going here? And she said, to be honest with you, I've never seen anything like this. There's so many people from so many different places. And we just don't recognize it
Yeah.
because I feel like
We live in that,
we're
like,
used to it. We're used to
yeah.
it by now, but
Like you can walk on a Dubai street and you can hear at least 4 or 5 languages going on. And you'll be like, okay, I'm in Dubai. But after like spending some time, you forget about that. But whenever someone comes, some person, some friend comes and they go on the street with me, we're walking, they realize, oh, this guy, this language. I'm like, yeah, this is Dubai for you, this is UAE for you. Very, very culturally
Sorry,
diverse.
I just have a number
Yeah.
here. Just on the story of India's Prime Minister in Saudi Arabia. The Indian population, according to Global Media Insight, in Saudi Arabia in 2023 was actually 1.88 million. That is a
Indian
really-
population in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's
or
a
in
really,
UAE.
No, in Saudi Arabia. It's a really big number.
Yeah, we talked about this in the Saudi story also. I think you read that part or I read that part where Modi said that, 2.7 million in Saudi Arabia. So I think,
wow.
yeah, they've increased, I think, after the report.
Oh, that is-
2.7
that's-
million is a lot. Just compare it with Dubai. Dubai has nearly 3.5 million people and nearly 50% of the people are Indian in Dubai. I don't know about UAE.
I think it's because of the fact that the UAE is smaller than Saudi
Yeah,
Arabia.
so they have more Indian. Very interesting. Next story is about UAE. So we're staying on the topic. It's a little technical, but just if you can understand it, you'll love how UAE is doing. The International Monetary Fund, which is IMF, has kept its 2025 GDP growth forecast for the UAE steady at 4%, the highest in the GCC, first of all, in its April World Economic Outlook. Growth is expected to accelerate to 5% in 2026, the next year, making the UAE one of the very few countries not to see a downward revision. Inflation is now projected at 2.1% in 2025, up slightly from the previous 2% estimate.
Now, the IMF attributes the UAE's resilience to strong non-oil performance. Non-oil GDP is set to grow by 4.5% this year, driven by tourism, construction, public spending, and financial services. While the current account surplus was revised downward to 6.6% of GDP, trade diversification and strategies are seen as buffers to external talks.
Yeah, the World Bank pegs UAE growth at 4.1% in 2025, while the central bank expects 4.7%. That's the central bank of UAE. S&P Global and BMI forecast even higher at 5.1%. S&P notes that GCC economies remain in solid shape despite global trade tensions because of Trump's tariffs and falling oil prices.
Now, in contrast, the IMF cut Saudi Arabia's 2025 growth forecast to 3%. Now, the kingdom's current account is expected to slip into a 4% deficit this year, widening to 4.3% by 2026. Inflation is expected at 2% through 2026.
And oil prices are projected to drop 15.5% to an average of 66.94 per barrel in 2025, according to IMF, potentially expanding Saudi's budget deficit to $67 billion. The IMF cites sluggish global demand and rising US tariffs as key risks, clouding the global and regional outlook. Very interesting that UAE is the only one that survived the cut because they've diversified so much away from oil that now whatever they lose in oil, it's recovered in non-oil economy. And Saudi Arabia is still affected by oil prices. So their growth forecast has been cut down. UAE will grow at 4% this year. So very nice to see that.
Now I understand why they went so hard on their tourism policy here. I really do get it because it's because of the fact that Dubai, welcomes so many people, always trying to try the Dubai viral chocolate into Dubai, to the point that, tourism here, it's so big, it's so great. In fact, if you ask Westerners, like, what's your dream country to visit, they'll tell you the UAE.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Dubai, but then I remembered. I remembered.
No, but to be honest, it's a very nice observation that it's not only Dubai now. Obviously, Dubai for the past decade was the star of UAE, but Abu Dhabi, with so many things that they've opened and so many things that are in the plan. They have the Louvre. Dubai doesn't have the Louvre. They have the second sphere in the world, which will open around 2028, 2029. But they will have the second sphere in the world. So Abu Dhabi, to be honest, right now is standing right besides Dubai. And I think it's going to be a very nice competition. Good for us because we live here and we can enjoy a lot of stuff. But if you're coming here as a tourist, you will love and enjoy UAE, the whole of it.
But I think
Ras
the
Al
traffic
Khaimah.
is so bad, Majid.
No, but I think this
we
is
need a
very good
solution.
because everyone in the tourist season, everyone comes to Dubai because they want to experience Dubai. Right? But now same things are happening in Abu Dhabi. A lot far away, 1.5 hour away, Ras Al Khaimah, when Marjan Island is going to open. So that is going to be an attraction. So it will be equally divided now. If not equally divided, at least if 50-60% will stay in Dubai, the rest of the tourists that we see every year, they will go to other places. And Ajman, Sharjah is a very cultural city. I would still say a lot of people go to Sharjah. But it's not
people live in Sharjah too.
Live in Sharjah, but
It's
the
very
tourist
affordable.
part, a lot of tourists still go to Sharjah for the mosque, the beautiful mosque, the Quran Academy I've seen. I saw that from a distance and I was like, I have to go inside someday. So yeah, I have to go on a cultural tour to Sharjah as well. But all the 7 Emirates, they have their own flavor.
Yeah, but just speaking of cultural tours, I feel like one of the most upcoming, biggest cultural projects is the NEOM project. And Saudi Arabia is set to officially appoint Ayman al-Mudafir as the permanent chief executive of NEOM, the $500 billion mega project central to the kingdom's economic diversification. Now, 2 sources familiar with the matter confirmed to Reuters on Tuesday. Now, Mudafir has been serving as NEOM's acting CEO since November, taking over from Nedmi Al-Masr.
NEOM is a major part of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's Saudi Vision 2030, aiming to reduce Saudi Arabia's dependence on oil. We just talked about it, that how oil prices are affecting them. The development, nearly the size of Belgium, includes ambitious projects like The Lion, a futuristic city designed to house nearly 9 million people. However, some projects within NEOM, including The Lion, have been scaled back due to rising costs.
Now, Mudafir, who previously led the local real estate division at Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, is well-versed in NEOM's operations. He has been heavily involved in overseeing the development of the mega project and will now take on a more prominent role to guide it forward.
And sources also suggested to Reuters that the appointment signals a greater role for the Public Investment Fund in overseeing NEOM, Justin Alexander from College Economics believes this will help address the risks associated with overambitious planning and ensure smoother project delivery.
Now, Saudi Arabia faces financial pressures due to falling oil prices, which have complicated plans to fund Vision 2030. Now, the IMF has warned that oil prices must approach $100 per barrel for the kingdom to balance its budget, adding strain to NEOM's ambitious development. I remember me and Majid were discussing this on the show like just last week, and I was saying how, with NEOM CEO right now, they just had an acting CEO.
Yeah.
And the fact that he wasn't being appointed, it could be for two reasons. Either he doesn't want to fully commit to a project of this size that's being, that everything related to it is being approved by the Crown Prince, or they don't trust him yet.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's been appointed, I think that he's finally been completely trusted, and they see that he's dedicated to this.
Even when the story came out of Nadmi Al Nasser going, I remember when I saw this guy, I was like, okay, let's find out what he does. And he actually handles the real estate part of PIF's divisions. So it's like he understands real estate, and NEOM is like a mega giga real estate project, right? So I was like, perfect guy, to be honest, for now, acting CEO. But now Reuters has reported that he is going to become the permanent CEO. Soon enough, we'll see an announcement. As soon as these reports come out, the very next 2 or 3 hours, or at least the next day, the full official announcement comes out. We'll wait for that as well. But for now, yeah, that's what's happening in the world of business.
That is what's happening, and that's a wrap for today. Thank you so much for tuning into the Smashi Business Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media channels at Smashi Business, and stay ahead with our daily newsletter. You'll find the subscription link in the description.
This has been a Smashi Business Show, a Smashi Business production, part of the Augustus Media Podcast Network. A big shout out to our 1.6 monthly listeners across all platforms under the Augustus Media. If you want to find us anywhere, Augustus Media, and then we have all our shows there. Thank you for making this possible. See you tomorrow on Thursday. Take care. Have a great day.